Into the Nexus is a production of amove.tv. Bookmark Amove TV for other great video games and esports podcasts. Into the Nexus is sponsored by listeners like you via patreon.com/ITN. Welcome back, everyone. Can you hear me, team? Is everyone on? You should probably join voice comms. Hey, why aren't you in voice comms? I want to join voice comms. Talk to me. It's Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I'm Garrett Weinzierl. He's Kyle Fergusson, and we have the ability to talk to people other than just ourselves in Heroes this week.
It's been an experience.
It has, man. It has. It's the top of the news, so I'm not going to forge straight ahead into it. But overall, man, how's Heroes been treating you this week?
It's been a fascinating exploration, and to get it out of the way, it's been positive. But last week we hit the show talking about, this really is a team-based game. Let's all play with our friends for a bit. Let's take it easy on the solo queue front, maybe. And now we have a team-based game with a team experience in the solo league, and it's kind of amazing.
Oh, you're talking what, with comms added?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about comms, that means it's just time to dive in the news.
Well, might as well.
Boys! Let's liven up this place!
Point me to the stage.
Stay a while and listen.
Yeah, so we got our patch just a day ago, yesterday, right? Or was it Tuesday?
Yeah. No, yeah, it was a Wednesday patch.
It was yeah, you're right. It was a weird day. I know, because I got into to play with a mutual friend of ours, Declan. Had never played with him before, and he was like, "Hey man, you want to play some games?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, let's do it." And we get in, and I'm like, "What are these options for voice comms?" Oh, a patch went live, and then there's some nerfs and some buffs and some hero adjustments going on, and we will talk about that in a moment. But seriously, man, like when I first got into the notes and you're like, and you had voice comms front row center for news. I'm like, I don't know about that, man. I don't know. And then I realized I didn't use voice comms yesterday, because yesterday I played with a new friend I never played with before, and we wanted to talk to each other one-on-one so we get to know each other. And we didn't want to annoy the other three members on our team with our back and forth banter. So yesterday I didn't touch it at all. So today, Kyle, I went out and I played voice comms, and I had a really interesting outcome.
Oh?
I haven't lost a game today.
Oh, sick.
I won 5 games in a row.
Damn.
And everyone was pleasant. The closest thing I had to an unpleasant experience on comms was the entire team joining it immediately in draft, and then from the beginning of draft to the victory screen, not saying a word to each other.
Yeah.
That was the closest thing I had to. And I was just sitting there like, is everyone just not happy with the draft? Is everyone kind of mad and they don't want to admit that they're mad, and they just don't know how to just put a face on and be like, hey team, how you doing? Good luck, everybody. But that was about it. My first game was the most positive experience I could have possibly hoped for.
That's fantastic. And that mirrors what the majority of the community is experiencing. It's tough to have a full view of it. It's fresh. It's brand spanking new. It brought maybe passionate players back to try it out. It has been pretty much 100% positive, but there are some issues with it. And they're almost entirely social. I mean, the quality's fine. There's very little lag, just like the normal voice chat.
Yeah, the quality is surprisingly good.
Yeah. When we look at the non-sort of personal issues, let's talk about those for a moment here. There is a separate silence penalty, so you have to incur another pile of reports to be silenced in voice, and you can still play Hero League if you get one of those reports.
So the conversation around the table is that if you get silenced, not only should it not be separate, you should just be silenced in any form of communication other than pinging, but that you should also now, because comms are baseline across the entire game, no matter what mode you're playing in, that you should also, it should basically be a temporary Hero League ban because of perceived downsides of not being allowed to talk in a game with built-in communications.
Exactly. And once we go down that road, things get really muddy very fast. And it's a very difficult conversation to have because we really are dealing for the first time in Heroes of the Storm a human exchange experience. It is so positive. It is so amazing. The experiences I've had in wins and losses have been great. And that ability to give up the APM that you use typing and what I'm able to do on top of that is just unreal. For me, I'm dyslexic. I can't spell. And when I go to spell something, it takes lots of mental effort to make those keys work in the order that makes sense to you, the reader. I don't have time to put out even a thumbs up emoji a lot of the time. And the higher I've climbed, the less time I have for those sort of exchanges. The first thing I realized about the actual in-game voice chat was that I had time for compliments. I had time to say, nice roots mouth. Thanks for the heal. Oh, that was sweet. And those things, much like smiling and the number of muscles it takes so little effort that to actually say something negative and use those frown muscles is more effort than being positive in the first place.
I hadn't even really thought about that, but you're right. In that first game, and I think some of it was spurred on by the fact that within a minute of the draft, we were all laughing and having a good time, and we were making meta jokes about comms. Like everyone, like, cause one person gets on like, "Hey, can everyone hear me?" And someone else is like, "Yeah, I can hear you just fine." Okay, all right, it's working. That's good. And then like we get like to the third pick, and I just go, "Oh man, we're all being nice," and everyone just starts laughing, and they're like, "Yeah, man, I'm not gonna rage. It's gonna be a good time," and everyone's joking, and then someone makes a joke of, "Yeah, we'll see who breaks first," and everyone's like, I'm not gonna rage. Are you gonna rage?" "Nope, I'm not gonna rage either." And we just went in laughing our butts off, having a good time. We even, like, I think had two of us die in the middle fight at the beginning of the game, and it didn't matter because someone goes, "No big deal, the deaths don't matter. I'm going top to cover the XP. Who's going bottom?" Someone went bottom. We never fell behind on XP. Nobody tilted, even though we had 2 deaths right out the gate.
And that is part of this exchange. You can say, "My bad," if you didn't die. When I die, and it's my fault, and I did a bad job, I say my B, because I'm dead. I have nothing else to do with my time. Perhaps I'll check talents or something for my own information. But now, mid-mistake, mid-whiffed mosh pit, my B can fly out before anger can even set in on anybody.
Yeah. I died quite a few times on a Vala today in a Battlefield game, and it was all right. There were a lot of my bad or oofs. Mine is oof. That's my go-to because it's like, because it's one letter away from goof. Like I done goofed, so I just go with an oof, and it's fine. It's all fine. We ended up winning that game off the back of an immortal that we did not secure. I had just some amazing games today, Kyle. It's weird. I don't know this game anymore, which I think I've been saying the last few weeks, but for completely different reasons now. It's just like I had such an interesting first experience with voice comms today.
Well, and to talk about other people for a moment, I had this Chromie, and this guy is stoked to be playing his favorite character, Chromie. And Dahaka, the enemy Dahaka, pops out behind us every single fight. And he was a little out of position, a little forward, and he gets destroyed by Dahaka. But as he does, this Chromie goes, "Whoa, oh, oh," and screams the whole time. That was so enjoyable. Like the fact that if in a silent in a silent world, I'm building up my ideas of who this guy is, and that he's having zero fun with his deaths, and he's mad at all of us, particularly me, the tank, for not taking care of him. And in that instance, we're all like, all right. I'll watch your back. I'm ETC. I'll watch your back, Chromie. We'll put Blaze in the forward position. And we still lost that game, but the fact that we were able to continue down that line and make that adjustment, I don't know a world where I could even say that in text without maybe upsetting Chromie or Blaze. Because who's at fault here? I mean, it's a simple exchange. It's the same reason why, I don't. There's so many conversations we can have on this show that we're not able to have in like a Twitter situation, because the second you take it to text, things are going to get weird and are open to interpretation.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, come on. We're going to show our age here, but this is like trying to get a date through AIM 101. Like intent and tone of voice goes out the window as soon as it's reduced to text only.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. But
and in my own way, I've been loving it because I get to have this exchange. I learned this week that Garrosh, who is great at hanging out behind a wall, stunning someone and throwing over it, is great against Sylvanas, because Sylvanas is standing right there, right outside the gate, ready to be thrown over. Like, that's a counter pick that I wouldn't have known about if it wasn't for that same exact Tahaka who killed my Chromie and won the game for the enemy team, was on my team the next game, and I got to compliment him. And we were instantly friends after that. Oh, great ETC. Oh, man, great job on Tahaka. And we built that rapport. And once you got at least 3 people having a good time, the other 2 kind of shy guys usually make their way into it.
Yeah. I got to play Zul'jin today, man. I got to play Zul'jin because of casual conversation and draft. Like, we're going through draft. I'm the last pick on our team. And 2 tanks had already been picked, a support had already been picked, and then it's me and one other player at the very end, and the player above me is hovering Jaina, and I'm just looking at this, and I can't remember what the enemy team was, but someone else on our team goes, ooh, Greymane here would be really good if we should grab that Greymane, and I just go, no one wants to see my Greymane. And everyone just kind of chuckles, and I look at it, and I'm like, what do you guys think about a Zul'jin? We got a Jaina being hovered already. We got the burst. I think we just need some sustain. Everyone's like, yeah, why not? And I maxed damage that game, and it totally worked, and it was beautiful.
There's a theory that kind of covers this in history. Why are smaller groups less likely to fight? And in a kind of tribal society, you can't kill the guy who helps you hunt in the morning. And formalized duels like the slapping of a glove across the face and meeting in the morning to exchange pistol shots, something even of that with swords and shields and everything didn't evolve until at least the kind of Mayan-sized societies could support the loss of an individual. When we are all in a team-based game like this, completely different than Dota or League, we need everybody to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And that makes the game so much richer. But there's also that downside to it that's very important to talk about. And that is what happens to those who don't want to join. And I didn't think I would be one of these guys. When I first heard about voice chat, that, everyone is open to do their own thing. I didn't like voice chat years ago when it was added to Dota. That must have been 2012 or so. I said I didn't have a microphone. It didn't really matter in a 75-minute game because team fights are often so discombobulated by the massive size of those maps and one dude becoming the mega carry and running amok. So you didn't need necessarily these comms. But here, it is such boon. It is so huge to what you're able to accomplish. And I'm talking with privilege here. Not only do I stream, so I have broken myself out of an introverted mindset when I'm playing games. I'm used to talking at the same time. I've got a nice deep voice with a nice little microphone here, so my first impression is pretty decent. And I am used to doing all that shot calling. I go into this and I think I might be scaring some people too, because I'm ready. I did visit some streams this week that were a little too, don't forget to like and subscribe. And the people are just like, oh my God, who is this person? I just start leaving the chat. That you could be a little intense, scare off the introverts.
Yeah, I mean, I had, I think in all but one game, at least one person that didn't join comms, and it didn't seem to elicit any negative reactions from the rest of the team. There was one time someone else on the team typed up a message like, "Hey man, why don't you join?" But it never went to a dark place. And again, everything we're talking about here is anecdotal, right? We're talking about a patch that went live yesterday. We've had it for a day. I'm talking about my own experience, which is 5 games.
Right. And doing a show like this, we've met a lot of different people who play video games, and we are well seasoned to the differences that might be in existence out there, and certainly wouldn't overreact if someone showcased those in their voice scene. However, all my experiences with someone who hasn't joined voice chat have been negative.
Really?
100% so far. And I'm talking across 5 games,
So what you're talking about, like, I don't know, like shun the outsider type of thing, like instantly kind of like setting yourself aside from the group and everyone else just kind of turns on them?
To a degree, yes. And we've had the straight toxic guy. This is the, we're all in the voice chat. They're not. And we're going, we really need some sustained damage here. That would be really great for us. And we're like, oh, crud, he's not in voice chat. Okay, let's go. And we all start typing. And they wait till the last second, pick Valera. The first fight loses, and they say, everybody sucks, particularly you, Hanzo, my ally on voice chat. And it says they quit. And I'm in voice chat, and I go, Hanzo, you're doing just fine. But he leaves the voice chat, scared that there is going to be a further snowball of hate upon him. And in another game, I had the exact same situation happen where Zarya, other people said, join the voice chat. And they said, no. And then they raged later on at our DPS in that game.
The Zarya that refused to join the voice chat?
Exactly.
Oh, gotcha. Well, that seems like it was almost reversed. It was the person who didn't join raging at you versus the people raging at the person that didn't join.
But we're not making a good situation for them either, because the second that person became negative, even something as simple as that happened in one of my games, just, I'm not joining voice chat, it'll be toxic. You just called everybody sitting here toxic, and now you're the villain. And you know what they were when we started losing? They were the scapegoat. We're not ragging on them. I'm not trying to encourage hate and get them to everybody report, nothing progressed that level. But we merely remained friends while blaming the loss on the person who was maybe not toxic in the first place, but had already made up their mind about who we were and what our exchange was going to be here.
Well, that's, I think, why I am coming to this with such a big smile on my face, because I was expecting it to be toxic. I had made up my mind. I had convinced myself that nothing good was going to come of voice comms entering this game. I'm a console gamer as well. I know what it's like to get on Xbox Live and get into a random game of Halo or Call of Duty and get called every name in the book. And that's more or less the experience I've had in every game with comms, even Overwatch to a certain extent. Although I learned to kind of start socially gaming the system there. But whatever at least this week, and who knows what it could be. I could have just gotten lucky. It could be because it's new. People are getting in because they're excited, and it's just the diehards. But I haven't had to try that hard. I've just shown up, and everyone's been cool.
And I know it's also a privilege of my league, too. I'm curious to hear stories from across the gambit. Right now, I get in and I say, hey, we're running a Malthael. They got a Sonya. Does that win? And we're all sitting there going, we looked at the patch notes, and are we banning Maiev? No, she got nerfed this week. Let's not do that. And everyone had read the patch notes, which is something I know isn't going to be happening across every single league. And if you're battling misinformation and misunderstandings, I can understand why Gold and below might be a toxic voice scene.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's a coin flip, right? You're just as likely to, through the tone of your own voice, to maybe educate someone make a friend and educate them in the process by being like, oh no, have you read the new patch notes? And if someone's like, oh no, I haven't, you could, and you mention, oh hey, did you see that Maiev nerf? You're just having a conversation. I mean, if you get into it and you're like, oh, you don't know about the Maiev nerf? Oh my God, that's going to elicit a negative reaction, and you can't account for everyone. Who knows? It's other random people after all. But I think it can go either way. I think you're just as likely to have a positive reaction talking to someone who may not have read the patch notes as you are a negative.
I think the biggest danger to this thing not remaining positive is honestly the people who have already made up their minds about it. And that shocked me. I didn't think that those who are most afraid of the toxicity would be the most toxic ones. And that is a fascinating part of what's going on here. A lot of people are very scared, and I get it, Like before I started streaming, talking over video games, no way. I've been doing that for 3 years now. It changes a man. You just kind of evolved to be a bit more social. And having had all these different exchanges where I can remember instances where X was said to me and how I dealt with it, you gain defenses and ego and everything else that'll help you through an exchange like this.
Yeah. No, it's interesting, right? Because at the end of the day, we are talking about basically a social experiment.
In a fascinating mode, like not just like carry me bro kind of voice comms. Like these are, if any game ever had voice comms, it was this one in the first place. Like that is what it's so crazy about this experiment. It happened and we all went, oh, that's how it's supposed to be. Like it all makes, when you can say I have safeguard, stay engaged when you're Morales, like just simple stuff like this makes a world of difference because we all are at the same level and we're all on a team and we're not just hoping some guy goes and wins it.
Yeah.
And plus we're in there for 20 minutes. I can engage with you on this level rather than asking me for 75 minutes to care about you farming the jungle. I don't.
Yes. Yeah. This is much more bite-sized. It's easier to digest. So so far, I mean, I just got to say, I'm really impressed and I'm happy about that. Frankly, I just needed a win socially right now. Things are weird, especially where I live right now, in terms of having to have a discussion with any other human being, and to just get into this game and for everyone to be on the same page and want to talk about the game. And not even to win, but just try and give, like you said, those little kind of short blurbs of information to stay engaged, to share information from one player to another about what's going on in that very moment. Something that you just can't do through text. It's what I needed.
Well, I have time for nice job. Or maybe the guy on the top lane has time to type NJ. But you know what he doesn't have time to type for? Oh, that's my boy. Like when someone yells that at you after you dunk someone on Garrosh, you feel like a damn champion.
Yep. Yeah. You know how we've been begging for a commendation system ever since they added a report feature in this game?
You got it. It's called compliments from another human.
Yep, it's called compliments from another human. Voice comms has given you that option to this is what you make it, and yeah, you're gonna run into some ass hats, but so far it's the scale has been tipped in the side of the positive for me. So, yeah. Plus, you can mute individual players, which is great. It's always a good thing.
Right. We haven't talked about that. The mute features are all there. It's auto not join. You kind of have to go and make a little fuss about it if you want to be a part of this, actually. And I have it set to every time a game pops up, I get an alert window that I can then choose to join. And, maybe that's just placebo effect, but I feel like it's nice to every single game have a choice.
Yes, yeah. I'm sure I will get into a mood where I'm just like, I don't want to hear other people.
Oh, totally. And I'm hearing that the majority of quick match games are pretty quiet, and nobody's really talking in those. And that's to be expected. Were you playing in Hero League or Unranked this afternoon?
Unranked.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. It was hopping, man. I did not see the same name twice. which was great, and and everyone was chatty, except for my last game. No one talked. Everyone joined, and I'm like, hey guys, hey team, how you doing? Let's win this. Nothing. Crickets.
Yep, that's how my last game was too, and it's always a bit odd. And like I said, I know I'm now part of the streaming culture, and I might be a little intimidating coming off and just being like, hey, I'm ready to talk over video games. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah. I certainly don't do that, but I don't really stream games. So, but I am still using this nice, sexy microphone. So who knows? I might be intimidating people too. But there was a balance patch, Kyle.
There was.
So first up was Maev, who got dinged. I don't know. Knocked down again. They mentioned her January 9th changes, saying, hey, that helped to bring her win rate down, but it's still not, it wasn't down enough. So these changes were aimed at, her survivability and her burst damage. So her health and her health regen have been reduced, both by a little under 4%. But let's get into the abilities. Vault of the Wardens has had an entire second tacked on to its cooldown, so it's a 9-second cooldown on that now. And Fan of Knives had its damage reduced. It was 170, it's down to 162. That's not quite a 5% reduction.
This has pushed Maev out of ban territory, and You should do something, again, map-related, or get rid of that darn Hanzo, or whatever particularly keeps you down. For my purposes, and in my team league with the core guys, we get rid of Blaze because he's too seductive. He's always little low health and burning himself back to full, and we targeted him wrong.
I didn't even see yesterday when I was playing with my buddy. Only played quick match. Didn't see Maev ever, which I found odd. And then today, playing in a draft environment, was the first time I have played against a Maev since her release in a draft.
And you can believe it when I say then that she's rather scaled down from the beast she was.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I would say she feels balanced, man. Like Vault is still an amazing ability. One extra second on the cooldown isn't the complete end of the world, but yeah, I'm anxious to see how far she drops.
Yeah, right now she's sitting right at 50%. So other heroes have overtaken her since she was nerfed. Not a lot of games played since yesterday, and this is Hotslogs information.
Right. I mean, that's all we had to pull from. Which brings me to my next point, which is Malthael, who is rocketing above where Maev used to be. He's already doing well before, and he did get reined in a bit, but he was next up on the balance patch this week. They said that the overall goal was to reduce the power of a few particularly dominating builds, but they wanted to make sure that he still feels powerful past the early game. And then they went on to talk about how he was designed to be a powerful solo laner, but that he's just a little too dominating in those early laning phases, that there's just no other hero in the game that rivals what he can pull off in the early laning phase. So Soul Rip has had its mana cost increased 20 to 25. That's a 25% increase in the amount of mana you're going to be spending on Soul Rip. I was already having mana issues when I played Malthael. Now I have to think about holding down that Q button, on top of the fact that the healing was reduced from 36 to 25 per target hit. However, healing from heroic targets went from 3% to 4% of the hero's maximum health. So now he's going to get significantly more healing off of his team fights, but him fighting in a big group of minions is not going to be as large of a boon to him as it was before.
And he's not auto-winning his lane anymore, which is the thing to really take from this. They nerfed down Die Alone by 33%, and that's a pretty decent amount of damage gone. With the... Gosh, the wild ride continues, and every week I feel like I'm bringing the new flavor. But it's true. You know, we have right now a big resurgence of Morales. So Vala's back because of that. And with Malthael getting nerfed and Sonya getting nerfed back to the nerf she had apparently last week, we were all sitting on the show going, man, what is with Sonya? Maybe people just learned to play her again. No, it was actually that she got all her nerfs reverted by error during the Maev patch, and now it's been fixed yet again.
Yeah, so back on the week of January 24th, when we on this show talked about how her basic attack damage was reduced, how the poison spear damage was reduced, how Nerves of Steel had its duration reduced, the shield amount reduced, but you can do it a little more often, but how it's not that big of a deal because it's still a long-ass cooldown, that apparently wasn't in the game.
No.
Just never pushed.
I mean, it's great roleplay. She raged and broke free of her chains and wanted to keep playing OP style. But, so, with Sonya going back down at the same time Malthael's getting this pretty heavy nerf, Sonya's actually beating Malthael in lane now. Because she's healing more than he can get on a single hero with the reduction on the lane. But, so if Sonya starts winning again, in this crazy, crazy world, and Malthael's losing, guess who is now solo laner number 1? Thrall.
And that's...
And the chain continues.
The chain does continue. I mean, Thrall was kind of on his way up. We've been talking about, I feel like almost for 2 months now, like, is Thrall back? Is Thrall the right decision? Is Thrall something we should consider? And finally, the answer is just yes. And on top of that, with this balance patch, his Chain Lightning had the bounce range increase by a sizable amount, a 20% increase, Kyle.
Yeah.
And that's great. I always thought Chain Lightning kind of had a pretty sad bounce range anyway. But yeah, I kind of like it though. Like it feels... This is the first time I really like seen a patch and I'm like, oh, that kind of cool foresight on the side of the heroes team. Right? Because we're going to knock Malthael down. Sonya's going to move above him. But we caught the fact that her nerf didn't go live, so we're hitting her with that too, so she's not too dominant. And oh, hey, look, Thrall, having dodged multiple changes, is now kind of on top again.
The only hero that has snuck back into this that is a trouble in my book is Dahaka. Without Malthael, the gatekeeper, to keep Dahaka away, he's back in every game. But with Maiev out of the ban slot, that's often going to Dahaka now.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's, again, it's that kind of, this is the first time I've really looked at it, and I can see the push and the pull. It's, I don't know, it's like clay or a water balloon where you grab it in one place and it just spreads in the other. And it's like, yeah, all these new things we have to deal with, but the answers have quickly made themselves apparent. Like you said, well, there's an extra ban slot. Let's deal with Dahaka.
Fascinating.
Yeah. It's cool, man. I don't know.
But I think too, we praise this, and you know, maybe I'm even a little scared of this Thrall buff. You know, maybe it was accidental and this just could have surged underneath it. And maybe the Thrall made everyone the tipping point and they went, oh, okay, it's Thrall time. That is rather elegant. And the Malthael rework seems to be a really big success. Maybe not so much for Poor Tormented Souls. Last Rites really seems to be kicking it off great at the moment. But then you look at something like Zool and you go, these two ideas, did they come from the same team?
What two ideas?
Well, Zool this week received additional health and additional basic attack damage, but they went through and nerfed his skeletons down.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes you go, now, the poor guy. What are we trying to accomplish here?
Well, I mean, they tell you, right? They tell you in the dev notes. They mention like, hey, we would like to see Zool participate in team fights more. Basically admitting that his push is probably a little too strong. But it's the level 7. It's the Trag'Oul's essence. That feels like a gut punch if you're a Zool player. The mana restoration went from 0.5% to 0.2%. We're already dealing in small percentages. That's ridiculous. That is a 60% reduction in the amount of mana that you get back. The rest of these seem mild. They actually look a lot like the Maiev patch or the Maiev adjustments, which are all pretty small, with the exception of maybe Armored Assault, which saw the biggest reduction over on Maiev. Like Zool, like his Skeletor Warrior's health, his Skeletor Warrior's damage, the cooldown on Bone Prison, like it's all those are reductions, those are nerfs that I can stomach. That large of a hit to Trag'Oul's essence makes me really consider playing Zool.
Well, and he's fun, and that is the flavor I am enjoying. Granted, I don't think a team-based game in its current rather fast-paced mindset is really using much Zool. We need team fighters, and like we talked about last week, and Nazeebo can be that, and Asmodan can be that, but oftentimes you'd just rather run something a bit more controllable, particularly the higher you go up in ranks. The idea that we got 6 damage for his auto attacks does not make me want to run into Curse Strike. I have an extra 100 health. I still think that when I show up on Zool, I'm going to participate for maybe 3 seconds. The time that it takes for my skeletal mages to get out, maybe scare someone off, but ultimately die in some AoE business. And by the time the Spectral Scythe spawns and then flies at me. In my opinion, once those 2 things are done, I have made my contribution to the team fight. So I feel like we're really hitting strong. We're really doing pretty darn well. I still don't exactly like double tank the most, but we're doing a really good job on this balance, but I think we're entirely lost on specialists.
Yeah. Because who else is doing really well at our home games? Obviously, I'm not talking about esports, even though it seems like a lot of the balance lately has been for the sake of esports. And I think that's why specialists are in such a confused place, because Zagara is doing great. And a lot of other ancillary specialists like Nazeebo, even Murky, have been doing consistently well ever since the laning patch after BlizzCon. So why does Zool get targeted out? Is he really that much better? I'm assuming he must be. But this is the kind of thing where I'm like, okay, show us your statistics, Blizzard. You don't have to show us all of them, but show us Zool's versus a snapshot of other specialists. Because in my experience, he's like a fourth. He's maybe my 4th pick for specialist right now.
Well, we don't have Blackheart's Bay in the rotation, nor do we have Warhead Junction. And not like that's a big one either. I mean, I love running him on Towers of Doom, but you hit a wall there because you can't push any further and get a keep or anything like that. So I still love the guy. I think we're all collectively lost. And that's interesting.
On Zool specifically, sure. I'm confused with the direction. What do they really want out of him? But well, I don't know. Now I'm thinking about it. I mean, Zagara, Nazeebo, even Murky, they can absolutely bring sizable value to a team fight. Whereas Zool, as you said, you show up, you do a few of your things, and you're done.
It's close to being there, though. In fact, if Zool was to become OP, there would be very little counterplay to him, other than hiding outside of range and making sure you don't get connected when that bone prison. And he does get a decrease on his bone prison cooldown this week. I mean, that's a pretty nice little thing for him, an extra 2 seconds. But are you always in range every 2 seconds? With Murky, Nazeebo, and Zagara there, even Asmodan, there are summons and there are circles you have to stand in order to lose against them.
Yeah. That's a good point, too. Maybe he's just problematic. But looking at this, it just looks like laning got nerfed pretty hard, and his damage ability didn't get enough of a bump. We'll have to see, I guess. I mean, as with any time we get on here and talk about patches. But this is the first time, like Maev, Malthael, even Sonya, even though it was a change we already talked about, we're looking at it, we're like, yeah, we understand. This makes total sense. Good foresight on their side. The reason we're focusing in on Zool because it just seems bizarre.
Yeah.
It's pulling in 2 different directions.
And it speaks to us at home. Where's the Zools in professional play that need to stop pushing lanes? They're all sitting there, damn it. Yeah, we gotta nerf him. Stop the madness.
It's a secret strategy that they're waiting until
episode 300 when we have back on to reveal the banner
Rain of Fire, the Rain of Fire Dalaran banner play. Yeah, exactly. That was so much fun. We need to do more of that.
It's true.
Yeah, and then there was Zeratul. We haven't talked about Zeratul. So they said that they're basically redistributing his damage. So I want to start with the Might of the Nerazim change. So the Might of the Nerazim had its basic attack damage bonus drastically reduced. It was 40%, it is now 30%. However, looking at his basic abilities, Cleave had a 6% damage increase. Singularity Spike had 5 and some change percent damage increase. And then also Void Prison got a mana reduction. So, but Cleave and Singularity Spike are now doing more damage out the gate.
Which is very, very nice for Zeratul players. In fact, the majority of them kind of talk like Varian should. It's a bit more rare of a character. I think maybe less flashy. If there is such a thing as flashy creep, I think Zeratul has definitely suffered from it. He's also kind of stealthy and supposed to be a little more low-key. But Zeratools understand that they are not good until they have at least their 13 talents. And this is a huge buff. In particular, because we can expect characters like Void Prison Zeratul to become much better with voice comms.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Abathar. I'm really curious to see what his win rate looks like as we move forward. And in fact, it's already seeming to be climbing quite a bit. Just an offhanded look here. Yeah, up 7% in Hero League so far.
Jeez.
You can expect that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And if Void Prisons are coordinated upon, gosh, he's all the way. He's above. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. Some of these stats here. He's above Diablo, Malthael, Greymane, Li Ming. That's been a while, but boy, this is a messed up little list here. Oh my god, I should have looked at that a different time. All these heroes are going to have a huge advantage in the new system.
Yeah. And now that we've talked about all of these things that make sense, are exciting, maybe with the exception of Zool, we saved the best for last, Kyle. Tyrande, 1 second off of her Light of the Loon cooldown.
All right. Well, actually, she is spamming it, so that's okay.
I'm still not taking Tyrande.
I saw a good one this week. That's about my impression,
All right.
I think they're passionate. I think there are better heroes for them. And that's sad. But I don't want to go back to Owlland. That was too much.
I can feel you. I logged onto my old hunter, my old Alliance hunter, which was my original character ever, and I was like, oh, I'm in Draenor and I don't have flying. This isn't happening. Well, before we move into emails, no strategy this week. We figured we'd have some calm stories, so we figured we'd lighten up the middle of the show. But we will take quite a few emails. But let's thank our patrons, Kyle. There's quite a few of you, hundreds of you, as a matter of fact, over at patreon.com/ITN, supporting this here podcast. And this is also where we remind you that if you are not a patron or you don't know about this, it's how this show is supported. It is a huge part of how Kyle and I make our living. So we would appreciate it if you would head on over to patreon.com/ITN and consider giving whatever works for you. And if it doesn't work out for you, that's fine too. And so Nexus is going to continue being free as it always has been. But on this episode, we wanted to thank some of our new patrons, Remus H, Chad C, and Patrick H. Thank you all very much for supporting our show. And
something real awesome, we don't have to do Discord anymore.
Oh, that's right.
It's over.
Yeah.
We can just be in the video game and have our after show games.
We can just be in the video game. You are absolutely right.
That's pretty nice.
You were absolutely right. Well, nice. I hadn't even really thought about that. That's going to make things so much easier. And Blizzard Voice loves your microphone, whereas Discord seems to hate your microphone, Kyle.
Yeah. Yep. Only our Discord, too, so it's extra weird on top of that.
Well, all right. Let's crack open that mailbag and see what's in there.
Darkness stopped calling.
Hold on. Darkness just texted me.
Okay, tell them I'm not here.
You may send your emails to itncast@gmail.com. Campless in Kalamazoo writes in, I want everyone to format their names like this. Sir, I missed the memo. Why are camps low priority? The recent ITN, you were pretty down on them. Is it just the most recent Merc adjustments, or more a factor of the current meta?
In the most bare bones way possible, when the towers have infinite ammo, the camps cannot push by themselves. And as I think as a community and a strategy that I've certainly encouraged for years now and taught, merc camps pushing by themselves do not get the value they used to. And a good and, in fact, great way to previously climb in Hero League was to understand merc camp timings and when you can take them. The basic idea being that if you're in Sky Temple and there are 2 pads in the top, everybody's looking top. Why don't you go ahead and put a merc camp at the bottom? And this becomes more complex on something like Cursed Hollow, where you're looking at that tribute and you try to time it out right as it starts. So the enemy team has to either address the merc camp or do the objective. If someone addresses the merc camp, you know you have a 4v5 or 5v4, and you can engage rather strongly.
Yeah. But that's no longer the case, right? Like you said, infinite ammo, they're just not going to get value. So if you're not only do you have to expend a resource to go and take the mercs, you probably need to keep that resource with the mercs to push with them to actually gain some value.
The best way I found to think about new mercs is map control. And remember, too, that you will not be, because of that infinite ammo, really gaining much XP when they are by themselves. In fact, it's the opposite now. They will be killing lane minions with nobody there to gain that XP. This is why you don't really take merc camps or run a merc heavy strategy on Tomb of the Spider Queen, because you will make gems that no one is there to pick up. And that's a bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
So pushing with your mercs is very valuable. However, if you win a team fight like we used to, and then go take the mercs on your side, that's not going to do anything. They are going to go down the lane. You haven't gained any ground. What you actually want to do now with merc camps is win the team fight on their half and then take their half mercs so that you have map control. They have to clean up those mercs, meaning to that maybe 2/3 point across the map, they cannot interact with you, and you have objective control.
So I've real talk. Do you like that? Because to me, it seems like the most questionable thing in Heroes right now.
Questionable as in the science of fun?
Yes, and balance, and fighting the snowball. Because right now it just seems, because of Merc's low value in any other scenario than the one you just described, that it's just insult to injury. You just lost your team fight, and now you have to deal with your own mercenaries, and then they're going to get their own on the back of it.
Which is why we saw such a brutal Spider Queen develop. Previously, we didn't take the mercs on our side because they would do exactly what I just talked about. They would push out your lanes onto the enemy half and create gems that no one would pick up. Now, when we win those team fights, we go take theirs. They picture that bruiser camp. It comes around the corner and is immediately at their wall in front of their keep. You're not farming up gems there anyway. You are establishing map control and completely owning that 3/4 of the map, and now they cannot access the turn in. Even if they're sitting on the gems, if they picked up their allies' gems, they're not getting those turned in. And that is a bit anti-fun. Granted, the winning team's winning, so it's not wrong. It's just not fun.
Yeah. Now, what about the it depends scenarios? What if what if one tower is down?
That is an interesting situation because one tower, as stupid as it is to say, it's worth saying 100 times. If you kill one tower, you've cut the lane damage in half. There were 2 towers, there are now 1. It does half the DPS. That is a merc campable situation. That will overwhelm. The damage is cut. It's a great thing. And you should be farming towers. That is your way to get an early XP lead. Something we haven't talked about in a long time, but since we're sort of going back and treading some old ground here, you can think of buildings as banked XP. They are jars ready to be opened. And you can cash those in at different times. You can say, oh, hey, let's, as a team, decide to go farm towers right now and we can get an early 10. However, the enemy team has taken no towers and they get a couple kills and get 10 off of that. The enemy team is actually ahead because they haven't used their banked XP. So merc-heavy strategies and specialist-heavy strategies can often lose at those 13 survivability talents, those 16 power spikes, those 20 power spikes, because you may have won the entire map, but you haven't earned anything other than cashing in what was already on the map.
Interesting way to look at it. But then there's also the game right now, which is to try and always have a 1 level lead. So if you can just keep that up as the specialist and not lose it.
Right. It's going to be difficult for them to, break out of their base when they're so squeezed, of course. And you will have the advantage for winning early.
Yeah, because that's the other. I mean, again, it depends. Which is, yes, you just cashed in your fixed XP that was always going to be there, and you could have grabbed it at any time. But you're also getting map control.
Yeah.
And if you can get map control and not lose map control, you're just going to win the game.
Exactly. So it's not bad. It's merely that we have to make a pretty big change into the way we were playing because it wasn't as effective anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. It's I'm with you. It came down to those merc timings. That was how my brain worked, or reading the map. If something happened, looking at that mini map, just the overall look of things, and realizing, if I put a merc in this lane right now, the opponent is going to have to either answer us or answer the mercs. But now it's just, there's 2 towers up. It'll deal with the mercenaries.
I mean, my biggest tactic right now, because I'm playing mostly ETC and Blaze, is to get the kills, go on their half of the map, take their merc camps. This is, by the way, pre-10 as well. This is very early. Be seen on their half of the map, and as we take the merc camps, pick the fight in range of them, so I take advantage of their damage.
So they join the fight.
Exactly. And I'm on your half, and it's still early game, so you don't want me there in the first place, and it always elicits a response.
Yeah, you set a trap.
Exactly.
You're playing, because anyone's brain's going to go, we're not even 10 yet, they're on our side of the map, there's no way we can lose this.
Well, and no one's going to be thinking about staggers yet because you're dead for 10 seconds and I'm dead for 10 seconds or 13, and we're all pretty close to rezzing. I can go in there. They'll be up in time. Whereas, when you're going in by yourself and 3 people are dead for a minute, that's all your fault. There is no mental mistake there. That isn't even a fun scenario that you were walking into.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Well, Mark is our second email today. He says, hey, guys, I'm a longtime listener to all your podcasts, and I want to say thank you for all the hours of entertainment. They have helped me get through the long hours of engineering school. I've got 2 questions for you guys. 1, I just had a baby. And hold the presses. Congratulations, Mark. Congratulations. Anyway, he continues. While I was in the hospital, I met another family on the floor that also had a baby girl, and they named her Jaina. I'm wondering if either of you would consider naming your child after a video game character, and if so, what name would you pick? Oh, man, I'm not sure I would.
I mean, there's totally like a little German Shepherd in my future named Garrus somewhere. But that's Mass Effect. I'm assuming we need to keep it to Heroes of the Storm, or at least Blizzard.
I don't think you necessarily have to. It's broad enough.
I mean, I think a kid named Tyrael is just badass, but I don't know if that's too far. I knew a guy in college named Malik, and that's a badass name.
Yeah, yeah. What my gut reaction was? The first name that popped into my head. And it's not even from a game series I'm excruciatingly passionate about, but Gears of War popped in my head, and I'm just like, Marcus. I want to name, if I had a son, Marcus is just a badass name.
I mean, a bulldog named Tychus, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Gen's not too crazy and still has a nice little fantasy flair to it.
Gen's not bad. To me, if you're going to do it, you got to pick something nuts. And if you're going to pick something nuts, I don't know. I feel like you got to be, a certain level of famous to go with a real crazy ass name. Like I was going to do it, I'd be like Thrall. Like, here is my son, I shall name him Thrall. Or my daughter is named Thrall. But I feel like, I don't know, I'd need to be a rock star or something. Because of course, Rockstar Kyle named his son Thrall.
Yeah, you got to have that wiggle room to get away with it. I think Jane is very safe in that way. It's a pretty name. She's not completely nuts yet.
Yeah, I mean, you can pull from StarCraft all day. I mean, names like Sarah and Jim are just normal names.
Yeah, the biggest problem I have when it comes to naming little humans is the old people names. Like my dad's name is Dean. And I can absolutely imagine 40-year-old dad Dean, and now in his 60s, but a 7-year-old named Dean? That seems wrong.
That's funny. I've always thought of Dean as like a cool teenager name.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know why I have that association with the name, but
Maybe it's the grandpa, like his parents, Dorcas and Bob, and then Dean. I think that triangle of old people names was just too perfect.
Yeah, but I had a grandfather named Arthur, and I was like, man, Arthur would be. It's just a cool name. It works for a grandfather, but also like Art as a shortening. I like that.
Art's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. I don't think I'd go that route. There's a lot of family names I'd like to reuse at some point if we ever go down that route.
This is my son Ragnaros.
Yeah, I named my pets almost exclusively after video game characters. So.
Yeah.
We have Wheatley the ferret. We have Zelda the chihuahua. Our cats are named after what television shows we were watching when we adopted them. So we have a Dexter and a Sherlock.
Fair enough. My cat's named Cartho Nasty because he wants to talk to you.
Anyway, Mark's second question. He says, has there ever been a hero that you weren't interested in playing due to their kit seeming boring or unpowerful, but then after playing them, you fell in love with? I was never interested in playing Stukov because I thought he looked boring. Wow, you have a very different definition of boring than I do, Mark. I had 10,000 gold burning a hole in my pocket, so I bought him just to buff up the number of my supports I own. Well, lo and behold, turns out I love playing Stukov, and I think I've found my new support main. Sorry, Lily. Yeah, mine was Tychus, without a doubt. The first time I played Tychus, I was just like, what is this hero? Why would you build something that plays like this? It makes no sense. And then I played a game with you and Kristen was on Tychus, and I was like, oh, that's why he's built that way.
Right, I think it was the first time we had ever seen anybody move with the overkill in a just chasing someone kind of direction, like actually avoiding skill shots and then planting your feet after the skill shots were out and locking on with the minigun.
Yeah, because at that point, we had none of the Overwatch heroes. So they were like, the fact that there was an ability that you could lock on with and move was mind-blowing.
But it should have been mind-blowing. Instead, we're all like, that's just stupid. A cone attack? Oh, you're supposed to maneuver during it.
Yeah. It just seemed clunky, right? Like, it almost seemed like that should have been, in my head, I was like, that's how his auto attack should work. Why is it on an ability? I don't understand, like, this weird kind of, like, pivot. He felt like a tank. Like, he was moving in one direction but pointing another, and it just boggled my mind because of what I understood from previous MOBAs.
For me, I've been having this right now with Blaze and ETC. Those are my two mains right now. And it took a lot of soul searching to get there. Mainly, I just want to make sure the team has enough CC to win. And that's what I often end up on, actually, is whatever I feel like is that most important. If someone doesn't take it role, we got to have it. But ETC just, what a hideous creature he is. And in that, maybe in the country outfit, but I still wasn't really feeling it. And then they had the Marine, and in particular the face melt animation being these levels like you would have on a little stereo going up and down, the trebles and whatnot. It shoots those out around him, and just I fell in love with it. And then I needed a replacement, because that's how it goes. I mean, I discovered Stukov in the same way. I was loving Uther last season, but if I didn't get Uther, I needed a replacement. And I ended up on Stukov. I thought he was boring too, because Stukov's normally walking around, you hear him go, "Ho!" And okay, I guess. They look great from ahead because they get to stand there doing nothing. I know that's a simplification, but it looks like you're just sitting there doing nothing when you're winning with your hand in the ground. But that's really fun to do.
Yeah.
And it's a great kit.
Yeah,
and once you make that connection that you should always push away the engaging tank, everything about Stukov becomes worlds easier.
I was smitten from his debut video when I saw his lurking arm, and I'm like, wait, that's not a heroic? You're kidding. How is that not a heroic? And I've been in love ever since, man. I love Stukov. But that's fun. I don't know why I think of him as an intricate hero. Like boring doesn't hit me. Like I used to think of Malfurion as boring. No longer the case with his rework. But
well, for me, the boredom is about it's about a presence, and I was trying to define this for myself too. You know, why I find someone like Thrall boring compared to Zul'jin. And when Thrall comes running at you, there's this big question mark over your head if you're like, am I afraid?
Is he gonna hit his wolf?
Is this gonna turn into something I should be afraid of? But a guy riding up on his motorcycle and getting off and just walking at you in his big old green muscles and throwing axes, like that's a presence. And unless you've drafted to counter that, you are an arrival of force. And the kid should bore the hell out of me. Like Zul'jin's kit is not the best. It's not flashy, but the and the axe sounds and the everything about the exchange there is so thrilling.
There's nothing more satisfying to me in this game right now than locking on as Zul'jin. Just getting him in a safe place to just go ham with his auto attacks. I'm doing basically nothing. And I love every minute of it. It reminds me of Raynor. I mean, Raynor, I think it was that for both of us way back in the day. We're talking back when ranks were numbers, kind of stumbling onto him being like, oh, if you just lock on, you break the meters. Like, what a boring kid. One of his abilities you don't even need to activate. It just heals you when you need it most. That's dull as hell. And his other one is just a passive buff to everything around you, and you don't need to do anything with. You aim one of his abilities, and that is it. And yet we both got stuck on him and kind of fell in love with him. And I think we both learned how to play this game correctly because of him.
Yeah, we exchanged Flash for a really basic kit that taught us the essentials and the essentials of positioning. You know, there's a reason why Valas and many of these other Genjis have flashy, great kits, but have lower win rates. It's because I actually can't jump across half the screen on Raynor. Therefore, I will not die halfway across the screen as Raynor.
Yeah. And that's interesting. And that's a cool thing to kind of reflect on, man, because I feel like we've been talking the last few weeks about how the game has just changed so much and so drastically that so much of the knowledge that we have worked to accumulate is no longer worth anything. And yet, I think a lot of the core concepts that we learned climbing the ranks as Raynor back in the day, I mean, it's the basics, but there's still lessons that need to be learned. There's still skills that are applied in every game we ever play.
I really do recommend people check out Blaze too, though. That kid is good.
Everyone's I've been asked multiple times over the course of the last few weeks, oddly enough, in PUBG games. Apparently, I have started playing PUBG with a bunch of Into the Nexus fans. I don't know how that happened, but my PUBG games, when we're not screaming, "Come res me, you jerk!" No, stop shooting at him and res me, I'm gonna die. It's hero stock in between, and I've been asked multiple times what I think of Blaze, and my answer kept being, I will take him any day of the week in a game with people that I trust, meaning friend games. I'm still not going to take him into a pickup game. But with comms, I think my answer has changed. He might be my favorite tank right now. And
it's a lot of stun.
This is coming to you from like Arthas's stalker. Like, if Arthas was a real man, he would have a restraining order against me. But I love Blaze, man. I really that's a great kit. They did such a good job on him.
So. I cannot do Arthas. Still, that would be, if Tychus continued to this day for us both. That's my Arthas.
Tychus is your Arthas?
No, Arthas is my Arthas. Arthas is my Tychus. Or I've confused myself here.
Yeah.
I don't like Arthas.
You don't like Arthas, yeah.
The idea of saying, you, stand still. Can I keep attacking you? Yeah, sure. Just drives me nuts.
Oh, man, I don't know. It's just my jam, man. And I'd like it, because I don't see Arthas a lot. So Arthas is my, like, I'm glad that one of my passionate heroes that has always kind of stayed there in my stable the whole time is also kind of a hipster pick.
I mean, I've still got my Lunara. Though, after this week in voice comms, that's like the only character I feel kind of weird about.
Why?
Because I'm like, hey guys, how's it going? Ha ha ha. Tee hee hee. Like, oh, protect the woods and whatnot.
Oh, oh, you're. Well, I mean, I got in there today with this voice and got on my pink cowboy Valo riding a pink crystal heart. So it happens.
Fair enough.
It's all fine. We're all fine here. I think people kind of assume it. Anyway, our final email today comes to us from High Def, who writes, the past few shows, you've talked about how fun it is to play this game with friends, and I've been feeling the same thing lately. The fun of playing with friends, coordinating, and playing to each other's strengths is a unique experience unmatched by the solo experience. I found a lot of joy playing with my friends in a competitive league, which I really think is the best way to play, especially for the listeners of this show who care about improving skills and fostering a positive environment. I really want to encourage other fans of ITN to check out Nexus Gaming Series, a competitive Heroes of the Storm league. I've used a lot of things I've learned from the two of you with my team. In fact, we used the combination of Gul'dan with Reign of Destruction and Varian's Dalaran banner discussed in episode 200 to qualify for our division's playoffs. Thank you so much for the guidance and the community you've created. I really like to encourage the fans of this show to put together teams for NGS Season 4. Sign-ups run from February 25th to March 25th. And to root for Lurk Patrol NA in the Division B West playoffs next week. Dude, that is rad. I can't believe you busted out the Reign of Destruction Dalaran banner. And you freaking qualified. Oh, that is... Oh...
That's incredible. I just would love to think what was going through that enemy team's head. I mean, we were in quick match having a giggle and a victory, but seeing that come up in the draft at level 10, you just go, what's the plan?
What is this? What's happening? Wait, Banner of Dalaran. Reign of Destruction. Huh? That's all I can think of. That's amazing. We've gotten so many cool emails over the years, Kyle, of you guys helped me hit gold, you guys help me hit platinum, you guys help me hit diamond, you guys help me hit master, etc., etc. Guys, it's going to be hard to beat how cool it is to be told that a pretty ass backwards strategy discussed on this show got someone to qualify for a playoff. That's pretty rad.
And I found this email really interesting after this week because we just had such a positive experience with voice chat that I don't want to go back to silence. In fact, I had one of those games where nobody talked, and I was sad. I was physically moved.
Yeah, me too, man. And I was lucky. That was the one game I played today where Zagara made sense, and I was on Zagaran, and it was 3-lane map. We were on Dragonshire, so I was noticing and just managing a bunch of things, so it was kind of okay for me to be alone with my thoughts.
Yeah, just busy.
But it's still like... all of a sudden, it became a thing very quickly. I just became accustomed to being able to talk to my teammates. And when that talking stopped, I missed it. So.
Yeah. And I've been thinking about, what sort of enhancements a Cherry League team or even something like Nexus Gaming Series could be to a lot of people. I mean, if you want to climb the ranks now, you have to socialize and you have to become social. And that is a extremely tall order. I remember when I was working downtown Chicago, coming home at the end of the day, being there 8 a.m. to 6. I didn't want to talk to anybody in a customer service position. And I 100% understand that, but the game experience is so strong. I don't want to go back. And if anything, I am afraid of queuing for Hero League because I might not get everyone on voice chat. Because that's the most joyous experience I've had. And I want to relive it over and over again.
Well, I think it just becomes another factor of you deciding to hit play, right? Yeah. Like anything else. And if there's any game where I am accustomed to frequent change, it is Heroes of the Storm. So the fact that this is now a factor in me deciding whether or not I want to play it. I am in the camp of I prefer to play games with other people and talk to other people. So I don't think this is going to be a deterrent for me at all. But I see your points. But like I said, I think it just becomes another thing that you weigh when you're deciding what game you're about to play.
True, and that's definitely a greater issue for me and something that's felt like such a big discovery. Because for you, it's social gaming. You love playing games with people and will pass on activities like playing video games or watching your favorite movies by yourself to do something else with other people.
Yeah.
I have always been very introverted. I haven't pursued, I'd rather stay in and have a measurable amount of fun that I know is prescribed by logging into my favorite game than go out for a mystery and possibly have an okay evening. Over the course of this entire game, I have become socialized with streaming, and I don't want to go back.
I would say you don't get to claim introvert anymore, man. Like it's over. I've seen you at BlizzCon. You and Kristen stroll up in your best looking, threads, and you're shaking hands, and if there were babies, you'd be kissing them.
Right. And you can still, at the end of the day, it's ultimately about where you regenerate your energy. Do you feel like you need to be around people to become functional again, or do you need some time by yourself? And ultimately, I'm still an introvert because at the end of the day, I want to take some time for me and read quietly or play Slay the Spire. Oh my God, that thing's a time vampire.
Well, we all love those games, right? That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The decision of you're deciding on your games. I realize there are people that main games. I am not one of them. I definitely have games I play more than others. They're usually Blizzard games, but you have your civilization. It's always usually been Civilization for me. Lately, it's been XCOM. There's always that game. It's just like I want to turn off. I want to go play with my toy soldiers in my room alone. Sometimes they're literally toy soldiers, and I'm playing Total War. Other times it's, like I said, Civilization.
Oh, yeah, it's XCOM. You're dressing up your little soldiers.
Actually, it's still soldiers. Civilization, still soldiers. XCOM. All my game, all my introverted leave me alone games are basically toy soldiers.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So
we would all be the weird old guys with train sets. Like, that's all Civilization is. We laughed at them, but actually, in a past where there was no video games, we would be them.
Remind me to bring up on Weak Sauce how being a kind of boring pseudo-normal adult agrees really well with me, and I find it mildly concerning.
I think that's just the hero's journey, as it were, We need that. We need, upstarts, and we need people who can change the world. And as you get older, that's no longer your job as much.
I was under Katie's car 2 weekends ago. I jacked it up, put it on jack stands, got under there, ripped out her old light, put in a new aftermarket light, and nothing made me happier that day than laying on hard concrete, pinching the crap out of my arm because there's no clearance between that bumper and an exhaust.
Yeah, there's a certain point where responsibility feels real good, and I hate the phrase adulting, but I just keep adding things to myself, and it's kind of scaring me. I cook all my own food now. I work out 3 days a week. I practice violin for fun. Like, what the hell happened? I used to need so much spontaneity in my life, and now I'm like, my schedule is beautiful. Let's continue. I mean, the only things that I'm considering right now is what to do with my stream, actually. And that's what's almost pushing me towards maybe joining one of these Cherry League teams or Nexus Gaming Series. Is I want to play that game with more people now, because Hero League is just a stepping stone in the way to me playing with friends. Oh, I had such a great experience hanging out with 4 random guys. Why don't we maintain that experience by not making them random and having a great time all the time?
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's a good time though. I had a solid last couple of days in this game. A really solid 2 days. So I'm anxious to see what the tail is on this.
Yeah, I mean, either way, Heroes of the Storm will continue to be an interesting conversation topic for a long, long time. But to have things be re-energized at this phase of things, that's a really big deal. Plus, of this week, we haven't actually talked about that, but they announced that there is a tournament and a patch for Warcraft 3. So we're not jumping to Heroes 3.0 anytime soon, like some may have thought.
No, I don't think so. But I'm going to be honest, about the only thing I care about with that Warcraft 3 Invitational is that I'm hoping they announce an HD remake.
I think we all are hoping for it, and as a Heroes community, we want to know if that was going to be that next version of the game with the core distributions for streaming, with the voice chat already in, with the blanks and the blanks and the blanks and whatever you want. You want to watch your friends or whatever the dream you have is for a system that has said technology has been the issue. I found it very comforting that we removed that factor right as we hit voice chat. So mentally, I doubled back down on this game rather than hopes of whimsy.
Yeah. Well, that's going to wrap it up for emails today. Keep them coming, by the way. itncast@gmail.com is where you may send those emails. And that's going to do it. Thank you for listening, everyone. Thank you again to our badass patrons for supporting the show. If you want to support Into the Nexus, Kyle and myself, go to patreon.com/ITN. Everything helps. $1 a show, $2 a show, whatever works. Also, huge thanks to Declan H. and Cheesy Bob. Thank you, gentlemen, for producing the show. Shirts are available. Shirts.amove.tv. You can go pick yourself up an Into the Nexus t-shirt in whatever size works for you. We also have custom-etched glassware, pint glasses, coffee mugs, wine glasses, which can be found at etched.amove.tv. Follow the show on Twitter at ITNcast. We got to thank Gorath for our intro music and BrianGriffithMusic.com for our outro. You can find both Kyle and myself on our Monday morning show, Week Sauce, all one word, spelt like days of the week, so WEEK sauce, where we're also getting cease and desist from notable hot sauce companies. You should listen to the most recent episode. But other than that, Kyle, where can people find you?
This week, I'll advertise a fabulous new show that is just about to have its 5th episode. There Will Be Dungeons, a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition custom campaign podcast on the Frog Pants Network. Check it out. Records Saturdays at 2 p.m. Pacific, but of course is available wherever podcasts can be found. It has been a delight. I love Vorel, the Lizardman, and we are just about to finish our first little on-rails dungeon, if you will, and hit the greater world, so I'm very excited for that.
Nice. Dude, we're picking up our Star Wars campaign this weekend. I can't wait.
Oh, congratulations.
We haven't touched it since November.
I think
holidays get in the way.
Yeah, well, of course. And, we're meeting a lot of people and we're, busy during that time. I can think of no better time right now, actually, to space out for a couple hours on something made up.
Mm-hmm. And then go right back to taxes. Yay. Anyways, if you'd like to see me struggling to keep my sanity in in the world with which I live currently, you can follow me on Twitter at Garrett Art, and all of the other podcasts I do, including Weak Sauce, which I just mentioned, can be found at amove.tv. I would recommend you check out Embrace of Spoilers, where Jocelyn and I just spoiled Black Panther. We're about to spoil season 6 or season 4. I don't know. Whatever the most recent 4 of Black Mirror. And we've got some other great spoiler-rific shows coming up. And then I also have my solo show, Angry Nerd. Go check that out. I've been talking cocktails lately. I've been having fun doing that. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of Into the Nexus. Thank you all so much for listening. Get out there. Be a positive influence on the world, or on the Nexus at least, in those voice comms. And until next time, good luck and have fun.
Take care.